Hey, yo, what's poppin'? It's the homie Sydney, and you are now watching the Kickback Sessions. Let's get it, y'all. Okay. Hey, yo, what's poppin'? It's the homie Sydney, and we are lit. We are here with John Deaux on the Kickback Sessions.
Hey,
Girl, what's good?
what's up?
How was your day today? From a scale of 1 to 10, how was today for you?
Today was pretty calm.
Okay.
Today.
Give me a number.
So give me a number. Like a 7.5.
Like a 7.5. Okay.
It's my first press day out in LA,
Mhm.
so I was just relaxing.
Where were you visiting today?
I went to Fashion Nova earlier.
Oh, you got some bags. I see here with the bags, y'all.
Influencer bag.
Babe, the influencer babe, period.
Okay, period.
And then you started doing some more press today.
No, you were my first time.
Okay, yes.
So, yeah.
Honestly, yo, I've been following your music for a minute now, and it's just your sound is just so ethereal, and it just takes you into a space, and it's just so unique. I always wanted to know, like, what did you listen to growing up that kind of gave you that inspiration to make music so unique?
Well, I feel like I have a heavy R&B influence. So I've pretty much I don't want to call it generic because it's not generic. But like I feel like the regular R&B, especially the early 2000s, like Destiny's Child, Beyonce, Sierra, Aaliyah, like all of that. And then I got a little bit into jazz, like John Coltrane and Amy Winehouse and Billie Holiday and Nancy Wilson. I feel like in high school is when I started kind of learning more, because I had a lot of friends that made music, and they were like, "Oh, you never heard of so and so?" Because I was like 17 and I still hadn't heard Voodoo by D'Angelo.
Oh, damn.
So I had a lot of friends that were like, "Oh, girl,
Okay, you need to listen to this.
Right.
And growing up, though, what music was played in your household?
Mostly gospel. It was a mix between gospel, the real like ballad R&B, like how did you get me? My mama used to play that song 15 times. I'm like, okay,
I know all the words. I feel you.
We get it, going through it. Like, let's pack it up.
Let's keep going. Let's keep going.
But between that and my mom actually listened to a lot of Biggie, which would.
Did that inspire you at all?
Rap, yeah, definitely. I think that was kind of the thing that I didn't expect to be drawn to, but
how so?
Just because I don't know. I guess just as like a little girl, I listened to so much
gospel, so much R&B.
Right.
Like rap was just not really much in the
Biggie,
picture.
You know what I'm saying? And Tupac, and hearing like the stuff they were saying. So I think that was the first time I heard kind of like men just say whatever. I listened to some Missy growing up, but I think pop.
You really give me a Missy vibe. And when I was listening to your project, just watching some of your older visuals, like, have you ever gotten that comparison at all? Yeah, like that shit's
the only
there.
comparison that I accept.
But period.
Because I mean, that's the only. Usually, the people that people compare me to, I didn't really start listening to until after the fact.
Like who?
Like Erica. People say Erica all the time. Lauren, I grew up on Lauren, but I would say she influenced me for a little while, and then I kind of like veered off into something more complex as far as sound wise.
What about Missy did you gravitate towards?
I just loved her confidence. I loved her versatility. I love that no matter what type of song she make, you're gonna groove to it. I like Missy can get in that pocket and make you really enjoy what she's making. I also like, as I grew and got older, seeing her impact, how many groups that she put on, how many people she wrote for, how many people she produced for. Hearing some of my favorite R&B songs and hearing Missy in the back, like Wicked, I'm like, this bitch is crazy. Like, so yeah, that was definitely inspiring. I feel like I'm on the same path, kind of.
Is there a certain album for you when you got the introduction to that wave of R&B music that started inspiring you that really changed how you looked at it, like a certain album or a certain song?
I would say it's 1 year that like my mom bought me a bunch of CDs, because everything else was kind of like what I was exposed to, whether it was like radio or TV. I feel like that year, like 1 year for Christmas, I feel like it was a lot of CDs on sale at Target. Yeah. So my mom bought me she bought me like 10 CDs, all like raw ass women who were in the R&B like dance wave. And the Dangerously in Love album by Beyonce.
No, that's one of my favorite albums. I think that's Beyonce at her best, honestly.
Yeah, it was
the most vulnerable,
one of her
the
best.
most raw.
Yeah, one of her best, and definitely very early in her like creativity too. So I think that's the song that made me want to sing. Like the first time I heard Beyonce, I was like, I want to sing so bad, but my voice didn't really come in. It wasn't there yet.
What age was that?
11.
11,
yeah.
So at 11, well, before 11, were you already singing all the time, or when did you really know, like, okay, I got the voice?
I didn't really sing, and so I feel like all my life I've had a good ear for what sounds good. I didn't ever hear myself sing and like how it sounded until maybe I got to high school, like 14 and 15. But around 11 was actually the first time I recorded in the studio. And it was the funniest thing ever because so they recorded me singing Dangerously in Love by Beyonce, which is obviously a way too big of a song for somebody that doesn't sing. And my whole family had it on a CD, so I would get in the car and my grandma would be playing it, and it would sound so bad. And I would just be in the backseat crying because everybody would just be laughing like, yeah. Girl, you like, sing.
You're trying. You're trying.
And I'm like, please turn it off. It sounds so bad. But I think 14, I was going to high school for musical theater. I started taking lessons with my music teacher in middle school. A lot of things that he told me back then still stick with me today, like not enunciating. Like whenever I hear people listen to my music, like, I don't know what the fuck she's saying. I just hear my music teacher in my head telling me.
Enunciate.
Right, yeah. But that was around the age where I kind of got into it, but still I was more drawn to spoken word, rap, and poetry. I think that I was just kind of like cultivating that ability.
Was there a poet that you were really interested to that spoke to you?
No, but there was like that Def Jam poetry wave that I was really into. Most of the poets I listened to were like my peers.
Yeah.
I think that's like a big thing in Chicago culture. Like most of my inspiration were my peers. Like somebody like No Name. I was a fan of No Name in high school. Like,
tell me about growing up in Chicago.
Man,
where exactly in Chicago you're from?
I'm from the west side of Chicago. Yeah.
Yes.
It's not a lot of us. I'm from the west side of Chicago. I grew up all over the city. I'm a city girl through and through. I spent a lot of time at U Media, which is a youth like place in the Harold Washington Library. A lot of people from Chicago came up there, like No Name, Vic Mensa, Chance the Rapper, Saba, all of Pivot Gang. I actually met Saba and Pivot Gang in U Media, and those are my cousins. So I met them at like a city like community thing,
and everyone was just going there just to create, like let off steam.
Yeah. I actually want to go back eventually, sometime soon, but go back and like make sure I cultivate that space and bring that energy back. But that was like the craziest thing. One of our mentors, Brother Mike, he passed away a couple years ago, but he was a big pillar of our community and bringing all of the artists together. U Media was the first place I ever recorded a song.
Wow.
Well, the second song I ever recorded was at U Media. First time I ever got my own studio time. The first poetry slam team I was on was U Media. The first open mic I had ever went to. So it got to the point my mom didn't even want me to be there because I would be there until it closed. But it was the only place I could express myself. And just
what about it spoke volumes? Like what characteristics?
I think just all of these kids from all over the city who didn't know each other, but it's kind of like the same feeling church gives you. Like when you come to a church and everybody has the like-mindedness. Everybody came in there wanting to create and enjoy each other and be inspired. And so that was the energy that was in there. What
was the age range of the kids in that program?
All high school. So anybody that is not in high school is not allowed to be in the space, obviously, unless you're like alumni like me, you know. But nobody that is out of high school is allowed to be in the space. So it was just high school and sometimes middle school kids, but for the people that were staying late and for the open mics and stuff, it was mostly high school kids.
Hell yeah. And you stayed in that program until when?
Until I graduated.
Until you graduated? And how'd you see yourself even growing in that program when you first started compared to when you finished? How'd you describe your growth?
I was challenged a lot, which had never happened. I think I was very new to just being an artist in general. I didn't even really see myself as an artist yet. But especially when I joined the slam team, that was the first time that any of my work had been criticized. So I just remember just being so sensitive to how people receive me. But the criticisms that they gave me just shaped me as an artist. Like, some of the first feedback I got just from my peers in general, they were like, you write all of these story-based pieces, but we don't hear anything about you. You don't talk about yourself. You don't talk about your life. You don't talk about your own struggles. Everything is like some fictional. And I was just like, okay,
damn, you read me in.
And so, like, but it struck me, like, as a young girl, like, there's a reason why I avoid telling my own story. I'm guarded. I'm private. And the first year that I actually, because we went through rounds, but we had a big team, so you were only going to perform if you were there to practice your piece and grow your piece and really edit it. And so the first year that I actually got to perform as an individual poet was the year that I wrote about something really personal to my life. So I think that really spoke
And what age
to
was
me.
that?
16, 17. Yeah.
And was it scary to finally, like, be able to tell your story that vulnerably?
It was definitely emotional. It's emotional when you write a piece like that and then you have to memorize it. So you have to, like, beat that into your brain, all the stuff that you're saying, and recite it over and over and over. So, you know, the first couple times you cry every time, and then you get used to it, and then you get on stage, and it's just crying all over again because you're in front of all those people just telling you the truth. But that was the most powerful part.
And then after that, did you finally get comfortable with sharing your truth, or did it still take some time to elevate into that?
It took some time to grow into it, but I think that was the first step of me being like, wow. It was like a lesson. Like, when I show who I am and show parts of me, that's more relatable than me trying to write a relatable piece.
Yeah.
You know?
Because it's interesting because your songwriting now, to me, is so personal and so descriptive of you and who you are.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Because just even with Crash and just even going into empathy, like, it feels like I'm reading through pages of your diary for real.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we call it new vlogs. Well, my first Tumblr was called the Deaux Diaries, and then my new vlog series is called the Deaux Diaries as well. I get a lot of comments of people just praising my transparency.
Yeah.
I think that now, like, going through that process now, I'm kind of used to just, like, I just don't really even think about it. When I'm in the studio, I'm writing. I don't think about what I'm writing. That makes it easier to be honest. But you don't know that you're being honest. You're just like, I'm just saying what's in my head.
Yeah.
It's crazy when people come back and they interpret it like, oh, you were feeling like, or I interpreted it like. And it's like, damn.
And you took it this way.
But that's how I was feeling. And when you writing it, you're not thinking about that. You're just letting the words flow. Yeah. So I think songwriting teaches you, or any type of writing, just especially when you just kind of like let it flow, it teaches you a lot about just how your brain works. Yeah. Sometimes you're not even processing the emotions that you're feeling, but they're coming out in the music, and you hear it back, and you're like, damn, I was going through it, you know?
Hell yeah. And have you always been an empathetic person?
I think so. I went through a phase in high school where I was very cold. I was very insensitive. I was very crude and mean, and I my humor was like, the more mean I could be, it was funnier to me. And I feel like that was a defense mechanism for me, feeling like I'm so sensitive and all of these things hurt me, and I care about everything and I care about everybody. And just, you know, dealing with abuse and experience and witnessing abuse to, you know, people in my family just made me kind of very guarded. So I think I always have been like that, but with empathy, it kind of came full circle. Like, I am this sensitive person. I am this person that wants to be loved, that wants love. And that's just it. And a lot of people are like that, you know. So it's interesting to even open up that dialogue with people that were listening.
I'm proud of you for even getting to that point, because it takes years for people to finally start being able to get comfortable with their truth, because that's That's some people's like biggest fear, man. Like just to be vulnerable, to have someone see them for who they really are.
Right. I mean, I'm still scary like that.
Struggling with that. Man, me too. Like I hold up. I've been even just talking to my friends over the past week. I'm like, man, I am so guarded. I'm looking at my relationships. I'm like, why don't I let people in? Like I really push back a lot of people, and it's like, yeah, that's human, but it's so hard to fully ever really break out of that.
We need people.
We really do need people.
Just for you to come into this world, you need somebody. Even if your mom gave birth by herself, you needed her to bring you into this world. You needed your parents to even come into existence. Like, we need people. I had to accept that as somebody who's a loner and will isolate myself. It's something I know about being empathetic, like soaking up other people's feelings all the time.
And energies.
It really draws me to be like, I need to be alone. And it's not really a bad thing. Sometimes you do need to recalibrate, but at the end of the day, you really need people. And as many people come to me and say, you're so transparent and you're so honest and you're so brave, I'm like, don't get it twisted. Like, I'm still private. I'm still
working
not
through
showing everything.
This is a fraction. Like,
right.
Sometimes
this is what I want to show you.
And you're
right.
receiving this.
I went through this process of accepting this by myself, and now I'm ready to show that part.
Because I've accepted that. I've moved
Exactly. So it's a process, but I think, like, as I go through the journey of just being an artist more and more, that it'll become a little bit easier.
It definitely will.
Yeah.
It's just a journey. It's a journey you kind of have to accept, and if you're willing to press go on that journey.
Right.
Has there ever been a moment when you've ever been too empathetic and it's backfired on you?
I think it's when you empathize a lot with people, you just run into people a lot that will drain you.
Yeah.
And that will just take advantage of the fact that you're always going to consider the reasoning behind what you're doing. Yeah. I feel like I have a lot of discernment. Like, I have a lot of people that know that I'm empathetic, and so they try to kind of play on my heartstrings.
Yeah.
But people don't know, like, if you're really around somebody that's truly like a strong empath, they know the difference between like real raw emotions and like, you are doing this to get a reaction out of me. Even when you, like, even when people like me watch movies and you see those actors, like, and they be talking, or they in an emotional scene and you get to crying and stuff. And in the back of my head, I'm like, this is not real. Like, why am I crying like this? But it's like, those actors are pulling from a real place. Like, the realer the place that they're pulling from, the more authentic it is to you. So even though you're in the story of the movie, like, you're picking up on what they're really feeling, what they're showing. So I just have to learn a lot. Like, even when I go on tour, when I'm just around a group of people every day, I'm literally picking up their vibes like all day.
And your day swings.
Exactly.
With their moods as well.
If they're in a bad mood, I'm in a bad mood. If somebody is annoyed, I'm annoyed. It's to the point now where if I just feel something that I wasn't feeling before, I just look around me at the people around me and I'm like, okay, what's going on with y'all? Y'all good? You know what I'm saying? Because I'm feeling weird. I'm feeling irritated, and it's not me. So I need somebody to speak up. And I have a problem even on tour, dreaming about everybody else that I'm with. Yeah. I've had experiences where I had a dream about somebody else's problems that I was on tour with. Man. And I told them,
you feel it. But I think that's also why your music makes people relate so deeply, because with the words you speak are so infectious, you know, and they really just make people feel it.
Thank you.
No, real shit. And also, when you're talking about how you deal with your emotions, whenever you get in a space where it starts to get a little dark, or you feel more inclined to be more private, how do you deal with those emotions? Where do you go? And what space do you try to find to heal?
I think that's a challenge for me right now. Because when I get to those low points, my first instinct is, because I pick up on other people's feelings. When I'm low, I want to move away from everybody. Like, no matter what. People will even come to me like, I'm here to help you. I'm here to support you. I'm like, no, I don't want you to feel what I'm feeling, because it sucks. I'm going to go be by myself in this corner and do what I do. I'm still learning how to go through that. I think one thing that I have learned is, one, sometimes being by myself is necessary, just because I am somebody that soaks up what other people feel. Like, I love taking baths. I just started reading this book. It was on tour. It's called Empath Survival Guide. Okay. And it was just talking about, it was telling me some ways to recalibrate where all ways that I already do it because I feel that sensation of like cleaning my energy. So it's cool to read. But one thing I just had to learn was like, not only do I need to take time to isolate myself, but I really need to like ride feelings out. We can't really like stop how we feel. I've never been able to fake a feeling.
Yeah, man, me either.
But
which is a blessing and a curse.
You're right.
For real.
But we can acknowledge the way that we feel, and while we're riding it out, we're learning about like the root of how we got here or how I got to where I'm at. So I say that like that's been my first step to healing now is like I have this new thing where like whenever I make a decision that's not really in my character, like if I go off on somebody or if I do something that's kind of careless, if I make a decision that's sabotaging myself, I just think I'm like who, what, when, where, and why. Like who am I doing this for? Like what caused me to go in this direction? Where is this gonna take me?
And
where
that
is
constant
this gonna
self-reflection.
Go? Exactly.
So with that self-reflection and making your music, how do you transfer that energy into your music to keep healing?
I mean, I think the music is just documenting where I am. Also, not only where I am emotionally, but where I am, like with my skill.
Yeah.
Like from Crash to Empathy, I could see people being like, "Your growth is like phenomenal." And it's really, from what, like 6 months, or like 8 months maybe since Crash came out.
Who is Crash and who is Empathy?
Crash is just like my introduction. Crash felt like kicking the door down and being like, bitch, Jean is here. This is what I do. I feel like I wanted to go in every direction possible when I put out Crash because I wanted people to know early on. I don't want people to put me in a box when I introduce myself. So I wanted to go as left as I needed to, especially with a song like Code, which I knew might not get as much love as the other songs. But I wanted to go as left as possible. So I'm like, I'll leave room for myself to go anywhere from here.
Was Crash confident?
Crash could have been more confident, but Crash had a lot of nerves in it. I think it was a blessing and a curse. Well, not really a curse, but like it had its pros and cons of accepting that technically I was a new artist. Yeah. There was a part of me that was holding on to saying, I've been in the game for years already. That's fine and all, but nobody knew who I was. So I kind of like had to take a power in that.
Yeah. And like think about your pride and like figuring out, okay.
Also, I feel like I couldn't be as confident because it was my introduction. I knew that I could only make it as good as I did the best I could, to be frank. But I realized that I settled for a lot. I rushed in some areas I would have not liked to do. And even though Empathy took half the amount of time that Crash took, I took way more time with it. Every single piece of Empathy, like we were down to like one word. If there was one word I didn't like how it sounded, I was
changing that,
changing it, re-recording it. When it got to the cover art, you know what I'm saying? When I didn't like the reactions or the responses that I got to the cover art for Crash, we shot a cover art for Empathy. I didn't like it. We didn't get enough material. We went right back, and I had to pay that photographer for the first photo shoot a full rate. She was pissed. I was like, girl, you sent me 6 pictures. Like, what are we doing? But anyway.
Where's the rest of the pictures? Where's the edits?
Where's
the love?
She felt like I didn't give her enough. I was like, it's not worth arguing, but we're going to reshoot. And I feel like everything came together perfectly for the cover. Just to hear people talk about it, and they were just like, it's so nice to look at, and it's just like, and I'm just like, I've just seen that effort appreciated. So I think that was the difference between that, and I was able to be more confident because I knew what direction I was going into. I appreciated the criticism that I got before. You know, when people don't like it, sometimes that'll discourage you, but it also, I like when people say why they don't like it, you know, and they get specific.
They actually tell you the truth.
Exactly.
Or you learn something new about yourself that you didn't even know. Just when people actually like take the time to say the why. Yeah. So how would you describe who the girl that Empathy was? Empathy
was just a girl that just was being super real with herself. Like you were saying, super vulnerable, but also a little bit more confidence, a little bit more like sexy, a lot more of like a demand.
The song titles felt like demands. Was that intentional?
No.
Oh, it was so like when I read all the song titles, I was like, these have so much like power and like sass with each one. I was like, okay.
I think I was just in that mode, girl. I was in that mode because before we put Empathy together, I probably made about 20 songs going into Empathy.
How'd you break those down?
Well, I'm probably underestimating, but I probably made like 40 songs. But we made
20 to 40.
We made so many different type of songs.
Right.
So it was like Empathy was like every third song or something. And then the intro, like It's Whatever, came like the week before we were finished. I was like, I just wanted to make some new music. And I was like, Rabe, just play me some beats. And he played the It's Whatever beat. And I was like, let me go in here real quick.
Just fuck it up real quick.
It flows so good. I just ended up picking all of my favorite songs from all the songs we made, and they literally just so happened to flow with each other. So once we got to mixing, it was cool. We just kind of gave the whole same approach for each song when it came to mixing, because a song like Break Time, I feel like the mix really made that fit into the mold.
Yeah, no, your mixing was dope. 'Cause that's what I was telling you. Like, it takes you into a world. Like, yeah, I really like how Missy took me into a world when I heard her records. When I watched her visuals, like, I see where you're going.
I'm definitely trying to create a universe with my music, with the visuals, with the approach to. I feel like the cover just felt like fantasy for me.
Yeah.
And I guess that's what I'm a Taurus. People often say like Taurus.
That's why you feel everything, sis. That's why you feel everything.
Taurus, Cancer, Moon. So.
Ooh, what rising?
Aquarius.
I'm a rising Aquarius too.
Yeah. So Aquarius tend to be outspoken. Yeah. So I'm just really like a stubborn, emotional.
But you feel everything
person.
Deeply.
Yeah. So I feel like Tauruses sometimes have they say we have a childlike fantasy of what friendship and love is supposed to be. So I feel like with Empathy, that was me not only acknowledging who I really am, but also saying like, and this is what I want from the world. And when you're thinking about what you want and you're manifesting, whether it's love or relationships or work or goals, it all feels like a fantasy until it's coming true. So I think with Empathy, it was just my way of being like, I know all of this shit seems like impossible, but I'm going to demand it anyway.
This is what I want. This is what I deserve for myself.
Right.
What was one of the hardest songs in Empathy to write?
Nothing was really hard to write. The hardest song to finish was Hire Me. The first demo of Hire Me, the vocals were a little bit strange. I didn't really know how I wanted to approach it vocally. And then once we recut the vocals, then the beat mix was so off. Like, I had to call everybody, like, what is going on?
Y'all
with
need
this
to
song?
fix this.
And my manager was like, I'm not feeling it. I'm like, I'm telling y'all gotta believe in it. I hear it. It's gonna be so good. And now now that it's out, when people are like, that's one of my favorite songs, and I meditate to it and I wake up thinking about it, I'm like, I'm so happy that I just fought for that song. I know something that I'm gifted with as an artist or just as a person. I see potential in everything. So it might not be the final product, but I'm like, I know where this could go. Hire Me, I feel like I needed Hire Me. The lyrics and the content. It's not really more so, because I know a lot of people think about love, like intimate relationships, but Hire Me was more so about like, this is my relationship with myself. Don't come around acting like I don't know my worth. Don't come around trying to like belittle me or make me feel less than. I don't have low self-esteem. I have a high self-esteem. And I feel like a lot of the time when I was working on Empathy, I was really leaning on my higher self. I was having a lot of epiphanies. It felt like the future me was coming back to be like, bitch, get off the couch. Like, you are about to be rich. You're about to be successful.
You're already a star.
Right.
Step
like
into it.
So like think about it like that. And so Hire Me was my approach to that, and I definitely wanted everybody that heard it to kind of feel that. I think that's the first step into like being more empathetic, is first of all seeing the higher you. You know, if you're in your lowered self, it's going to be easy for people to use that against you. So I think that just making that type of music and sewing that into myself helped my confidence. Because when I made that song, I didn't feel like I had high self-esteem. I didn't feel like I was like so confident, and I didn't even feel like I had the boss.
So you're kind of speaking into the future,
exactly.
doing that record.
And that was really like my higher self being like, no, I don't have low self-esteem. Like, no, you can't come around playing these games.
It's a hot girl summer, no.
Exactly.
And is there a favorite song on there for you? I know I have my favorite. And of course, it has to be Anytime featuring Kehlani.
Really?
Wonderful. Yes, because that song just makes me feel so sexy. JD.
Anytime was the oldest song in the project.
Really?
So the Kehlani feature was new. I made Anytime about 2 years ago almost. That was another song that like the vocals had to be recut for. But I would say my favorite is between Lifelines and Speakerphone. But I will also say that every song on this project literally was my favorite song after I made it.
That's what you were saying. You picked your top.
Yeah.
Was it 5? Was it 5 or 7?
7.
7.
Yeah.
And then Lifelines. How did everybody get together for the record? Because your features on that shit is dope. With Duckworth, with Terrence Martin, like.
Terrence Martin's amazing. That was actually a batch that Terrence gave Duck. Me and Duck, our first time ever meeting. He got a verse from me before that for another song that I cut in Chicago. And then his manager was like, oh, you should come to LA, you should get in the studio with Duck. And I was like, okay. He played me the beats that he had from Terrace. That originally was Duck's song. That was Duckworth's song. But obviously I'm all over the song. Like even behind his verse.
You were everywhere.
He was even in the studio like, man, you are just killing it. Like,
he took my song. It's yours. You can just have it.
He didn't really give it to me literally until like the week. So like the week before we were supposed to turn the EP in, we had like this one. We had to have 7 songs. Okay. We continuously had 6 songs and like one song like coming in and out. Like I would add a song. I'm like, okay, I need to put this song out. No, it's not working. Okay, I'm gonna put this song out. Oh, we don't have the beat for that. Okay, let me make a new beat for it. Oh, we don't like the new beat. And so it just kept going on and on. And Duck like texted me. This was before the EP was done. He texted me out the blue and was like, I keep thinking about that song anytime that you got. Like it's so good. Da, da, da. And I'm like, damn, that's crazy because it's about to come on my EP. And I was like, are you going to do anything with, it was called Palm Reader at first. I'm like, are you going to do anything with that song we made? And he was like, nah. And I was just like, I'm thinking about just like taking it and putting it on an EP. And he's just like, go for it.
I'm thinking about it. I want to do this.
I'm thinking about it because I was thinking about that song and I kept listening to it a lot. So we had to like, we literally probably till the day before we were talking to everybody, trying to get the stems, trying to get the session.
And it's always that last minute song that ends up being like one of your favorite songs. It was just
between It's Whatever and Lifelines. Those were definitely my favorites.
And Speakerphones. You were saying Speakerphones.
Every
song your favorite song.
Hard. I had to think of like what's my favorite now that it's out. But yeah, Speakerphone was definitely my favorite now. But It's Whatever after because it was the newest song too. I was so used to all the other songs. After I made It's Whatever, I was
like, nah, this is my new shit. I'm fucking with this.
So I was at home like,
yes. But that's how your music be making us feel, sis.
Y'all know that meme with the dude.
Yes.
That's exactly how it was.
Who inspired this album musically as well? Like, and do you have any artists that really inspired the sound and the world you created for this one outside of Missy?
I actually listen to a lot of like Total, a lot of like SWV, Teacher Moses. I was really listening to like R&B, like the real R&B, like back in the 90s, 702. Yeah. A lot of Silk. Another funny thing was when me and Doug first met, he kind of went into this thing talking about how he missed the era of 90s R&B. So I was like doing the most. I was like, I'm about to make you a playlist.
you know
this is
my
unacceptable.
Shit. I got you.
I was like, this is my era. This is what I can do. So I did spend a lot of time listening to that. And I knew that people kind of wanted that, more of that from me too. Especially Crash being so diverse and so versatile. I wanted to give people. I remember actually asking that on Twitter. I was like, do you guys want something do you guys want 7 good songs, or do you want a song that has like, do you want a project that has like a full ambiance? So I feel like,
What'd they say?
I was getting mixed reviews, but most of them were saying like, we don't care. We just want new music. We want it to be hot. We just blah. But I just decided on my own that I wanted to give a project that was all in the same world.
Hell yeah, definitely. And then you just surround yourself with so many dope artists who I can tell are also just dope people as well. Do you have a friend that inspires you the most? Musically.
I like it's a competition.
I know. Just one, or if it's like a top 3, but like
I have to say that, man, all of my friends inspired me in a different way. Like when I watch Raven perform every time, I'm like blown away. When I'm like in the studio with Monty, or when I'm in the studio with Smee, and I just see their work ethic and how they just literally never stop, like that inspires me to like go back to the drawing board and work harder. When I'm watching Kehlani, I'm thinking about how long we've known each other and how fast shit changed in chapters. I'm thinking about that with all of my friends.
Man. And even think about like 5 years from now too, it's like things are only gonna keep getting crazier.
Exactly. So I think that helps me stay focused, because I'm like, even if for some reason tomorrow I became like the biggest artist in the world, I have to think to myself like, am I ready for that? Hell no. I still get irritated when people speak to me outside. It's gonna take a while, and so that helps me to just remember that timing is everything.
If there are 3 adjectives you could use to describe yourself, what would they be?
Shit. First one, shit. I would say intuitive, focused, and stubborn. Like, it don't matter what nobody say. If I decided something, or if I believe in something, like, you know, the song Hire Me, I feel like if I wasn't stubborn, if I was somebody that, if somebody else told me they didn't feel how I feel, and that changed my whole opinion, that song would have never seen the light of day. So I feel like all of, you know, being intuitive, being also observant, but you know, being stubborn too.
That's real though. It is what it is. Taurus. No, it's literally just like all Taurus qualities. Who else are you listening to right now? You sent me a dope ass playlist of your favorite songs.
I did. I do make some nice playlists.
Is that a hobby of yours?
Yeah,
Me
I actually
too.
do enjoy making playlists with my friends, but my latest pet peeve is like when I send them, they don't be listening to them, and I'm like,
me too. I'm like, yo, I really thought about
I
you.
worked hard on this.
It's a real art.
I remember I made a playlist,
art.
and I'm like structured the songs in order so it all like told a story and shit. And I'm like, you just never even open this. You can honestly suck a dick.
No, I feel you on such a spiritual level. Like, it's all about the order, sis, and it's a transition.
Right.
Like, it's a whole
It's about the vibe that you get in.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? So I do enjoy making playlists. I'm listening to a lot of I'm actually like I've transitioned a little bit. I still listen to R&B. That's just my favorite. I will always just enjoy R&B and enjoy making R&B. But I just mentally I've been transitioning to listen to more rap and stuff. I'm hoping my next EP will be more like rap based. I am a little bit nervous because of the response I'm getting, the empathy. I don't want people, like how I felt with Crash, I don't want people to start thinking like this, the next project is gonna be out, it's gonna be vibey, and it's gonna be like, no man.
we gonna switch it up. We gonna change it up.
We're just gonna keep doing different shit, and I'm just trying to kind of like make that reputation. So I've been listening to a lot of rap, been listening to a lot of women in general. I also try to listen to weird shit, like shit that I wouldn't even usually.
I could tell you're a production girl too. Like, you love beats.
Oh yeah.
Like, I know for a fact you were very instrumental in picking out all the beats on Empathy.
Yeah. Also, I structure the beats myself. Even if somebody makes the beats,
that's why you give credit to your producers on the record.
Yeah, of course. Why not? But I'm like, I'll tell them, take this shit out. Move that around. Put that at the end. We don't need that. Take this sound out. It sounds terrible.
I don't like this part.
I be really specific with that.
That probably helps them though. It's like people appreciate.
Oh yeah, I feel like if you're not making each other better, then what are we doing?
Facts.
I'm not gonna let no mediocre. I'm not letting no mid get on my project. A lot of my homies like, man, when you gonna get my bro? When you send me some good shit, I will be. I will be on it.
I'll be right there.
I will not waste no time. I will be on it right away. So I just feel like I do hear that a lot when people are like, yo, beat selection is crazy.
Yo, cause
I didn't really
different.
ever considered it. Kehlani's last project, I kind of like help her find some production for it. So
and you also wrote with her on some songs too, right? Which ones?
Well, actually, I wrote an RPG, but the verse that I wrote, they ended up putting a feature on it, so it didn't make the cut. But it was good. It was
hell yeah.
It was good.
I know it was good.
But I co-wrote Honey with her.
That's one of my favorite songs.
Yeah, I love Honey. And we're gonna work more on like her next album.
Definitely.
But definitely. The more that people are telling me like, "Oh, you got good beat selection," I'm like, I didn't even know that was a skill.
JD the A&R, y'all. JD.
I thought everybody just didn't want to be in no weak ass beats, but I guess
I guess not. Not every artist just has the ear for beats. So some artists like.
I have heard some songs. I'm like, this beat is terrible. Why would you do this? But I guess sometimes you can make the beat sound good. Sometimes, but
sometimes you can save the beat.
Why would you want to?
Just go on a hard ass beat.
Find something else.
And I saw this tweet you posted today that you were saying 10 years. You're reflecting on yourself 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And you were saying 10
that
years.
tweet is actually deleted now. I have that so bad.
You had to delete it?
Yeah, I deleted it. I always tweet something like so like pivotal, and then 10 minutes later I'm like, I don't care no more. I'm gonna take this down.
But I felt that tweet was dope just because I wanted to end just talking about the reflection of your journey from 10 years from now. 10 years ago to now.
Yeah.
How would you say you changed as an individual, and what are you proud of today?
Ooh, Jesus. It's crazy that 10 years ago this month that I was like in that, like when I was saying earlier, where I went through a phase of like rejecting being sensitive and caring about. I probably went to the lowest levels of that. Like I feel like around that age, because I'm 24 now. So at 14, through high school and a little bit after high school, I had some run-ins like with the law. I was hanging around people in my neighborhood that were criminals. But I really had no regard for a lot of the things that are so important to me. Like life is so important to me now. People being happy is so important to me. Bringing joy to other people is so important to me now. Bringing peace to other people is so important to me now. But when you're at a place where you really don't know yourself or love yourself like that, you don't care about nothing like that. And so when I was 14 and all of the stuff that I went through as a child and that I was exposed to, it was sending me on a path of just not caring at all. There was several times where I literally should have been in jail for like a felony. Several times. So I just think, I don't know when it clicked that like life was about more. I think it was more so when I got into the art. When I found a way to kind of express that, it gave me a way to like release. And so now having been in that place, it actually helps me be more empathetic, because when I'm around, especially when I'm around like black people or non-black people, and they have this thing where they're kind of classist, or they're kind of like, oh, these are hood people, or these are ratchet people, or when people talk down on people that even have a criminal record, I'm like, you don't even know how easy it is for black people to go to jail. But we're so judgmental of people that have criminal records, and I feel like that's so backwards. And I also feel like if I hadn't been in that position several times, that I wouldn't have that perspective. I can tell when people that don't even see people go to jail are like, jail, he's a felon. Like, bitch, everybody a felon where I come from. Like, are you crazy?
Real shit.
It's like being a Girl Scout.
Being a Girl Scout. But real shit though. No, but it's real, because it's just like people in our generation have such a judgmental eye on things that we are all human for. Yeah. And we just turn the blind eye to that all the time because we're so afraid of just looking at each other as equals. We're trying to always be on this whole pedestal thing. Like, fuck all that.
Yeah, I had to really just humanize myself. It helped me to humanize others. Like I said, I was just a totally different person. Like, I'm somebody now. I consider myself a womanist. I consider myself like I like to empower other women. I like to empower black women. Back then, I was almost sexist. Like, and I would say that, like, I'm sexist against women. I think women are weak. I don't want to be around them. I can't hang out with girls. I was one of those girls, like, I can't hang out with girls. They too drama. They too da-da-da. But it's just like, it's all just internalized. All of the misogyny and sexism, you internalize that, and you're like, oh, this must be true. The same way that we internalize racism. And like, oh, I must be less than because I'm black or I'm from this area. And I also was going to high school in a place that was a neighborhood that was much more affluent than where I was from. So I think that also had an impact when you're around and people are so. That was the first time I was around those type of white people that are nice to you, but they're also laughing at you.
Yep. That 50-50.
You know what I'm saying? It's like they're so nice to you, but they're almost like making fun of you. And it took so long to catch on to, and it like it kind of hurts your feelings, but you don't let it hurt your feelings. You just like, okay, fuck all of these people. But I think a lot of that was just like impacting my self-esteem, and that's why.
Are you proud of the woman you are now?
Yeah, I think it's a process. It's a journey. But I think that's why it was so important for me to tap in with other like upcoming artists in my community. Because they were all in spaces like that.
And authentic and just like coming into the space as a real ass bitch.
Yeah. I think as of now, I'm learning to be proud of who I am. I guess it's just a journey of like fully understanding yourself, fully knowing yourself, not just the good. It's very easy for us to make this facade of like, I'm just this humanitarian and this motherfucking activist and this motherfucking the nicest person in the world, and I'm loyal and I'm strong. It's like, yeah, but it's also this other side of you where it's like things that are not so good about you. So I think that now, in order for me to like stay proud of myself, I have to always acknowledge everything about me and constantly like try to be better. And so I'm proud of that. I'm proud of my will to do that.
You know, that's the first step, honestly, and to become and like to fully embody the woman that you really want to fully become. You gotta look in the mirror and say, "This is who I am."
Right.
And I'm really starting to love that person.
I literally had a conversation with myself maybe like 3 years ago or 2 years ago, where I was just looking at myself in the mirror and I just told myself like, you have to decide who you are. You can't just leave it to the world to tell you.
Yeah.
You really have to decide who you are. People that don't know who they are haven't really decided. They're letting other people or events define who they are. When you're going through all this trauma and negativity, it's easy to be like, this is who I am. Somebody who don't have shit, somebody that's not gonna be shit, you let that define you, then it will be. But it's always that person that decided that they were more that ends up becoming bigger than their situation.
Hell yeah.
So I was in a funk. This was before Crash. This was before Crash was even getting started. And I had already accepted that, like, because I wasn't doing anything, because nobody knew who I was, and I felt like I had already done so much, and I didn't have anything to show for it. That it just wasn't for me. I used to just walk around like, oh, it's not for me, and art is not for me. I'm not meant to do anything, and And one day I just like had to look at myself like, girl, either you gonna do it or you're not. You know,
you can put your best foot forward.
Either you gonna be it or you not, because this in between and saying maybe it's not for me, maybe it's not. I had a lot of friends like, well, maybe it's not. And I needed to hear that, because I'm like, no, bitch, you wrong. Like, I could do this. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes you need that reverse psychology. So,
if you could finish a sentence, John Doe will become, how would you complete it?
I would say John Doe is becoming who I'm meant to be. I'm constantly becoming that. And I don't mean to say that as like it's a final destination, because you're always becoming who you're meant to be. Like, it's not like 5 years from now I'm gonna be where I'm supposed to be at. Like, no, you can't even cap yourself off like that. I feel like if Rihanna was the greatest artist that she was, and she's like, I became who I'm supposed to be, she would have never
kept
started doing Fenty, and she would have never had a luxury brand out. She constantly like was reinventing herself and challenging herself. So yeah, I think that's what I'm doing.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Empathy is out now, y'all.
Yes,
This was John Doe on the Kickback Sessions.
it's fun.
Spreading the peace and the love and the positivity. Thank you for
Yeah.
being so vulnerable
Thank
and
you.
sharing with me.
Thank you, the homie Sydney.
Yes.